Now, obviously, if you're going to go to a setting like this, tip to keep it successful is just being aware of the energies of the individual groups, right? So like something like that dog going real crazy over that stick, like that's not going to be a good energy for most dogs. That's an anti-social game, right? Yeah. So I'll come near it and make sure he's not overly, interested in it or trying to involve himself too much in that, but I'm not going to go like into that group. You know what I mean? Obviously, as we were passing this guy, you could tell he has good control over his dog, so that's no big deal going by, right? The group over there that had like the 2 or 3 dogs that we stopped at for a little bit, all those dogs had pretty good energy and stuff, you could tell, right? So you just kind of have to assess those things. But then what happened?
The way it was like on top of his muzzle like this, so that could have been a factor too. I don't know. He couldn't see, but he just like got really close to her mouth. No signs of teeth, no lip furling, nothing. It seemed like everything was fine on his end, and I think he just got a little too close for her comfort. Mm-hmm. So she just kind of let him know. Hey,
then what happened?
Then it was fine. She did well.
I mean, what did he do when she did that?
He kind of just made like a little noise back. I don't think he tried, like it didn't look like he wanted to bite her at all.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of like backed off like this and walked away.
So he did exactly what we want him to do?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, and then she stayed away, and then it was boring because she stayed away the whole time.
Well, that's fine also, Boring is good. I always tell everybody that. Like, I'm okay with boring, And, as dogs are meeting new dogs for the first time and stuff, and they're around different temperaments of dog and stuff, right? It's normal for them to communicate those things to each other, It's not bad at all, So that's fine. Yeah. I would say that's good.
Yeah, I thought it was fine.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Anything else to report?
No, he's been doing good with come commands, and we went on a big long walk and saw a bunch of dogs the other day, and he did pretty
He's good with it?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Cool. Yeah, that's all fine. Why don't you get your ECollar out, get him fitted up with that, pop the muzzle on, we're going to get started with social right away. No.
All right, come on, let's go in. Come on.
When you look at like real life training, it's full of imperfect situations. You know what I mean? Right. And like something like that, right? Like when I lived in Lyndhurst, there was, my yard was, way bigger than this obviously, but like there was like a house here, a house on the corner, and a house right behind, right? And the house on the corner right there had these 2 boxers that would just go so absolutely bananas every time they were outside at my dogs. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, they actually like scaled the fence a couple times, like not into our yard, there's like a secondary fence, but like into the neighbor's yard, and then we're like right up against like our house and stuff, and it was just madness, right? And it was one of those things where like, I even at one point, because the dog pretty much got loose, like leashed the dog, walked it all the way back to like the person's house, like knocked on the door, was like, hey, like, here's your dog, like, can you do something about this? They didn't do anything about it, needless to say, aside from make their fence taller, right? Like literally the next day they were outside, they were like adding like a 3-foot addition like onto the side of the fence, whatever. So the dogs were still going ham over there though, right? And again, for any dog, that's a challenging situation, but like I had 2 options. One was I told myself, there's nothing I can do about this, and my dogs are gonna get worked up at those dogs, and like I just like bring my dogs in every time that they're out, and like basically do like what she did right there, right? Or I hold my dogs to a higher standard, right? And like maybe it's a little, you could call it unfair of like these dogs are freaking out at you, but you can't freak out at them in that situation. You know what I mean? So same deal with like all of these guys, right? They've encountered this situation a handful of times, which is why it took 1 correction for each of them. And they were like, okay, cool, we ignore them now at this point. In his case, he hasn't experienced that so far. It took 2, right? But because we hold them to a higher standard, we know, again, that's going to proof us more in those scenarios where off-leash dog is running at us, right? You're socializing him with your sister's dog, and then the neighbor's dog comes out over there. And, since we've taught him to ignore dogs on the other side of the fence, there's less chance of that arousal creating a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, again, it could put a little bit of a damper, and it's like, all right, well, he got two bigger corrections. Actually, I didn't even need to go up that high with him to get him to disengage in those situations, where he might be a little bit more subdued now, not as playful, but it's like, it was still a great learning opportunity for that exact situation, What was it, a couple sessions ago or something, you were asking about like on trails and handling other dogs and stuff. I brought the muzzle here, so what we're gonna do, so we have a dog beach here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna walk him down the path to the dog beach, and we're gonna muzzle him, and we may or may not see dogs as we go that way because it's a pretty beautiful day out. And we're just gonna I wanna show you like how I would handle something like that, because this is gonna be about as close as it gets to you like walking on the trails and stuff. So before I go ahead and do something like this, I wanna first and foremost make sure that I have some sort of control over him. So what I want you to do is you're gonna go ahead and unclip your leash, then immediately do a recall somewhere. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so now we've established control, right? So what you're gonna do is just tell them okay, and we're gonna walk around on the beach a little bit.
Okay.
If dogs come up or anything like that, right now I'm not worried about it. We're gonna treat it exactly like we treated it inside, and then we'll go from there. Now this is hard because we got, somebody over here playing ball, which obviously we know he likes that. We're gonna ask him to ignore that, obviously.
Yeah.
And just gotta see what we get.
Oh, here comes.
That's fine. How's it going? Is your heart racing?
Yeah.
So this is like the ultimate test, right? I'm doing this just to show you like this. I don't recommend going and doing this all the time, right? But he's very capable of coming somewhere like this and behaving himself still, right? And again, the muzzle giving the freedom to be able to do this in a way where you feel a little less stressed. You're still stressed, right? But at least nothing's gonna happen, right? Oh, sorry.
They weren't stopping.
What's that?
They just weren't stopping.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, I looked up, there's like two people there. It's like, I don't know about this, Mom.
Hey, cutie.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I was like, I'm not sure. It's okay, bud.
He's learning to make friends.
Is he? What's his name?
Hauser.
Hey, Hauser. Aww. Did you just get him, or how old, or?
No, I've had him for 8 years.
Oh. He's just the cautious one, isn't he?
That's right.
Aww. It's good for him then.
Yeah.
You can tell he's like, I'm not sure. I'm nervous. I'm gonna go stand by him. It's okay, Hauser. Hi, Hauser. Hi, Hauser. You got beautiful eyes. Yes, you do.
Now, obviously, if you're going to go to a setting like this, tip to keep it successful is just being aware of the energies of the individual groups, right? So like something like that dog going real crazy over that stick, like that's not going to be a good energy for most dogs. That's an antisocial game, right? So I'll come near it and make sure he's not overly, interested in it or trying to involve himself too much in that, but I'm not going to go like into that group. You know what I mean? Obviously, you know, as we were passing this guy, you could tell he has good control over his dog, so that's no big deal going by, right? The group over there that had like the 2 or 3 dogs that we stopped at for a little bit, all those dogs had pretty good energy and stuff, you could tell, right? So you just kind of have to assess those things. That's okay. Just like, check out my stick.
Huggy's favorite.
Mm-hmm. Definitely curious. Now, if you were to get overly possessive over that ball or anything, just like really kind of trying to hover over it and stuff, I would just give a correction for that in this scenario. That's kind of how, like with my dogs, I told you, like I could play ball with all of them together at this point, and how I did that is by teaching them when the other dog has it, you've just got to respect that, right?
Good boy.
Good job, bud. Let's go. Now that disengaging from the ball, that's something you could practice on your own, right? Because you can tell he's really fixated on it, right? So when you're playing ball with him, start adding some more control into it, right? And some things that I'll do in order to do that are I'll put him in a sit stay, have him on the leash, right? Throw that ball, and if he gets up out of that sit, I would give a correction for that, right? And then once he's holding it nicely when I throw it, I'll release him to go get it at that point, right? So you could practice little drills like that. That's something I do with my dogs. I have some videos of them where I would basically put them into a down, throw the ball, make them wait in that down, then release them to go tearing off after it. And then I would make them drop it right away, obviously, and then get back into that down position. And I would kind of practice that drill a couple times.
Okay. So when they're, after they already get the ball, they make them drop it?
Well, I mean, once they bring it back to you,
Once
yeah.
they bring it back, okay.
Yeah, yeah, he doesn't have to drop it the second he gets it.
Yeah, okay. That's a little confusing.
No, yeah. But yeah, that, you know, that come command right there, obviously that was just because he was focused on that ball. That's like a high distraction that you could start working on.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just given the climate of where you live and stuff, getting him exposed to some of those types of settings, even though they're less than ideal, as long as you're monitoring what's going on and making sure you're avoiding some of the more difficult scenarios, but still letting him experience some of that, I think that's going to be very productive.
Okay.
I think that'll help you feel a little better because that's the kind of stuff you want to go and do, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to add a quick little boop right in the middle of the vlog. Boop, one of those, you know, right in the middle of the vlog here. So obviously I tell people all the time, don't do dog parks, don't do places with dogs you don't know and trust, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That still holds true. Here's an important thing I want everybody to realize as they're watching that clip. So she's in from Colorado, obviously, right? Where she's at in Colorado, no fucking leash laws. Everything is a dog park everywhere. We have to work with the environment we have, right? It's not ideal, obviously, but there are ways to ensure that things like that are done successfully, where she can improve the quality of life for herself, improve the quality of life for the dog, improve the dog's social skills, and do it all in a safe manner, obviously. So I'm not telling everybody to go out and start going to dog parks and put a muzzle on their dog and stuff like that. What I'm saying is that as you're working with dogs, you have to be mindful where you're at. I did a podcast with somebody from New York a couple months ago, and we were talking about dog parks, particularly because in New York, there's not big open fields and grassy areas and stuff like that, and the only way to let your dog run around and play out there is by using a dog park. He said it's less than ideal, but you have to be able to gauge the environment of that dog park. So as we were walking around, I was telling her, you know, you got to be mindful of that dog over there going absolutely bananas over his stick. We're going to avoid that energy a little bit because that's a negative energy that's going to create issues with dogs. These dogs over here are calm, so we're going to go interact, but the second I start noticing too much interaction happening, or if that person were handing out treats or whatever it may be, I would disengage myself from it. But as we put the dog in more and more of these types of situations, they're going to become less novel, and he's going to continue to grow in his social skills, and she's going to feel more confident to be able to go out and do those types of things. So very, very important for everybody to keep in mind.
He has been making steady progress. Just about nothing inside anymore except for the doorbell or somebody actually coming on the stoop.
Did you started implementing following through with the bonk like after?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So seeing good progress there.
Have you started implementing it outside on your walks?
We have not yet.
That's okay. So we'll take a look at that today, obviously. Look at the leaves changing. It's beautiful. So if he disengages from them, mark with good and reward for that. Yeah.
Good.
Perfect. Yeah, it's awesome. Got another one up here. Let's see where they're going. So I try to avoid marking and rewarding like while they're hard staring. So just as you're doing it, look for any sort of attention shift away from it and mark for that. So if he checks back in with you, mark with good for that.
Good.
Perfect.
Good.
Perfect.
He knows which streets.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Good.
That's awesome. Nice. That's great. That's kind of, you know, in an opposite emotional state, but a similar behavior to the reactivity, right? And that lack of impulse of like, I see that thing and I just want to go to it, right? So I don't want to do anything to increase that state of mind.
Okay.
So, but yeah, we passed a ton of dogs. So first one we passed by going through the tunnel, that dog started freaking out at him, which set him off a little, but as soon as he said no, he stopped like that. Like it was immediate. And then we bonked him for it, obviously. He responded very well to that. And then from there, we passed 4 or 5 dogs over by terrestrial, did great. No reaction or anything.
Maybe the bonker's working.
Oh, definitely.
It's been like kind of hit or miss this week.
Yeah, and like you were saying, you guys haven't implemented this on the walk yet, so I think starting to implement it is definitely going to help here. Okay. And then over at those townhouses right over there, the dog ran over to him, and he actually did shockingly well. Like I was explaining to him, like obviously it's not an ideal situation, but he did good nonetheless. So.
Great. Yep.
Oh. Did you get that? Yeah.
Please post that one.
Look at that, superstar. Then we'll just, yeah, you go ahead and pass by one more time.
Thank you.
Good seeing you. Tell Tenley I said hi.
I will. Good.
Look at that. Hi. Excellent. I give him an A+ today. I think he did great.
Yeah, that was nice.
I think he did very, very well. you're gonna start, obviously, I want you to start taking this with you, right? Again, make sure that your no marker is what's doing the work, right? Mark with no, then give it some time, then give your block for it, right? Past that, take a ton of treats with you. When he's doing it correctly, we wanna reinforce the shit out of this, right? And that combination worked fantastic today.
Yeah.
He did really, really well. So if for whatever reason you run into an off-leash dog situation like we said, just give him a little bit of slack, try to manage that situation as best as you can, you know, shoo the other dog away, grab him or something and create some space, whatever you need to do, you know. But I think you did awesome.
Cool. And still wear this, obviously.
Yeah, still have the ECollar because you're still going to use that for if he just gets out of position, like all that kind of stuff. This is for the reactivity on the walk.
What's happening? Who's this guy? He knows what to do when the color's on.
He knows what to do?
Oh, yes.
Like as in he's listening when he has it on?
Very much so.
Oh, that's what we want him to do.
Yep. And then, I was like, it's getting the collar in the sunshine that you might want to work on.
What is he doing? Just squirming all over the place, dodging it?
So I put him in a sit and I try to come around.
And that freaking shepherd I'm working with right now is the same way. You're just all over the place all the time. You know?
Like crap.
Yeah,
That's shepherd.
unfortunately, yeah, some of it. You know, as he starts to like it more, like, so like for example,
Yeah.
with Vinny, right? Like at this point, the e-collar, you know, symbolizes going and doing fun shit, right? Like it means we're going to the park. It means we're going to somebody's house. It means we're doing this, we're doing that, right? So once that association starts to build up, you'll see he'll run over and like sit there very politely for it. But up until that point, right now, it just means rules, right? Which, who likes that?
And even the prong still feels that way.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, you know.
Because that prong means, hey, we're going outside.
Yeah.
We're doing all the fun stuff.
As you're going through the training process, it does a lot of this, you know?
They just catch on so quickly, right?
Oh yeah. Once you get past that initial, like you said, obstinance, right?
They're not supposed to do that.
Put the collar on and
Come on. Yeah.
well, which is good.
Well, that's exactly the goal, right? Any sort of training tool or correction that we're using, the goal is he learns how to avoid it, right? If we're using it every time, forever and ever, there's something wrong, you know? Yeah, this looks great. I mean, he's dragging a little bit, but he's not going back to you guys like he was last session for sure. Yeah, I mean, you see him catching himself. That's great. Yeah. Place. Good. Okay. And again, keep in mind, like with the sits last time, how when we started it with the e-collar, he started getting all thrown off because it's a new sensation with it. It's going to be the same exact thing with this until he figures it out. Place.
So you give him some time.
Yep. Yes, so I'm giving him a minute to process it, right? No. Place. If he doesn't do it, then I give that correction.
So you say no at the same time as you hit the button, or no?
Slightly before, yeah. Okay, so the no.
I was doing no and then hitting the
Exactly, yeah, exactly like that, right? Because no is identifying the mistake and telling him that's what this correction is for, right? Come on, bud.
And in fact, I was on the phone and I said no, and he like,
Place.
oh, there we go.
Good. And obviously, if he does it correct, we're going to reward that. Okay.
He did very well.
Come on. Super well. Place.
No, like, well,
Yeah, now he's not going to do well. No.
no, not
Place. Good. Yeah, I mean, I didn't need to give any corrections until we started this. Okay. Come on. Place. Good. And that one was on his own there too. Good. Okay. There's never really like a wrong time to reward for something. You know what I mean?
doing something good.
Yeah, I mean, if he's doing something correct and you want to reward him, you can. The duration in this case, you don't have to. And the reason for that is because we're already rewarding when he gets onto position to let him know that's correct. And we have the e-collar in case he breaks it, right? If we were doing like rewards only right now, we would need to keep those rewards coming over the course of the duration to keep him incentivized to do it, right? But obviously we have the e-collar for that here. Now let's say hypothetically, right, he was standing there, right? Staying on the bed really well. And let's say somebody came barreling through that door, right? And he stayed there. Yeah, I would absolutely go and reward for that, right? So if there's like a big distraction or something that happens and he does well with it, yeah, definitely take advantage of that opportunity. All right, let me take that leash from you real quick. Thank you. Okay, so that all looked really good. So here's one adjustment I'm gonna have you guys make while you're doing this, right? So you notice near the end, he started getting up when you were picking up the leash, obviously. Sit. A lot of that has to do with this. Every time you guys were going back, you were kind of doing this. Okay. All right, so you're picking up and releasing at the same time? Yes.
Okay.
So when you do it, sit. Get into a habit of every time you're working him with that leash on, if you go back to him, pick up that leash, and then just pause, right? Really make sure he's still stable and that he is not seeing this thing as meaning anything, right? Until he hears, okay. Same with your beds, right?
Okay.
Place. Same deal, getting back to like confusing him, right? You know, like yes, technically he should hold it when we pick up regardless of where we release, but we're trying to keep him successful with it, right? So same deal, going back, picking up, and then just pausing, right? Giving him an opportunity to fully stabilize there. Okay. Do one more. Sit. That one little detail like makes your sit stays and your bed stays just so much more solid. Okay. Place. Good. Okay.
That's a good distraction. He dropped it
Sit.
on the floor and he was like,
He said, let me at it. Okay. Looks good. Crushed it. He looks really, really, really good with all that. Big difference from 2 weeks ago.
I know.
Big difference.
Like just much calmer.
Yeah.
Like wow, it's only.
Well, also I think you're in Toronto. What is it? Ontario? No, are you in Ontario?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're not in Toronto. Okay.
No, Toronto is on it.
Oh, I'm an idiot. So
That's
see, right?
Having a balance dog helps that dog learn to be less hot
Yeah.
without putting too much
Sure.
of a negative emphasis on that other dog to
No, that's a good, I understand what you're asking. So there's a couple of dynamics to that question. So first and foremost, we have to understand we're not going to change who the dog is, right? A high-strung, wound-up dog is always going to be a high-strung, wound-up dog. That dog may be able to be a controlled, high-strung, wound-up dog, but they're always going to be like that to some extent, right? So we need to look at then, let's say we're taking a dog that's really high energy and we're letting them in the group, right? And they come in with a lot of energy, but they're not really doing anything wrong. They're just at like a level 10, right? And another dog comes over and attacks that dog over it, let's say hypothetically, right? A lot of times we look at it from the lens of almost kind of how you're asking of, well, how do I decrease the energy of that dog to prevent that dog from attacking it? When in actuality, it's the other dog's issue. You know what I mean? Now, let's say the dog is high energy and wound up and jumping all over, you know, let's say I let this dog out and this dog was crazy and ran over to you and started jumping all over you, right? That's a different story, right? And then a dog came over and attacked her, right? That's that dog disciplining that dog for an unstable energy, right? Doing something with it, you know what I mean? This is great.
I know you
And again, things like this, right? This is really important to see these things because a lot of people that don't understand dogs will look at that and be like, oh my God, she's trying to bite him, right? That's absolutely not at all what that was, right? That was her communicating a boundary, right? This dog started coming in hot, like you were just saying, right? And she said, hey, I don't like that, right? And I don't want to take away the dog's ability to communicate these types of things. If anything, I want to let them know, yes, you can do that. You just don't need to do it so intensely if it was really intense, right?
It'll be respected.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, well, that dog, it was pretty apparent. I mean, like, there was just no problem. You know what I mean? Like, it, you know, I try to see them around enough little tight corners, enough bursts of energy, stuff like that. You know what I mean? And if I see zero problem with it, it's like, we're just going to go for it, you know? Again, as you socialize more dogs, the other thing, like, you could start looking at is, and I mentioned this to her, you'll notice patterns, you know what I mean? Like, you'll notice, like, that exact energy of dog, I've seen that energy of dog before, you know what I mean? It's a familiar, you know what I mean? Like that thing he did when that dog sniffed him, or that thing he did when I let that dog out of the kennel. Like, I've seen a dog do exactly that before, right? So that helps you feel confident in knowing it's time to